Hi everyone in Algebra 2B. Today we're going to be going over your questions on lesson 107B. What we're going to start with is number 16. So I'm going to start with solving this equation for x. So I'm going to have 2x is equal to 2y plus 16. I'm going to divide everything by 2. So that would give me x is equal to y plus 8, and luckily that all comes out evenly. So now I'm going to substitute that in, so that would be 5 times y plus 8 minus 3y equals 32. And we're going to distribute. So that would be 5y plus 40 minus 3y equals 32. Subtract the 40. So really, I would end up with 2y is equal to negative 8. And therefore, y is going to be equal to negative 4. Now you're going to take that and you're going to plug it into this equation. So x would be equal to negative 4 plus 8. Therefore, x is going to be equal to 4. And you could write your answer as an ordered pair too, so it'd be 4, negative 4. Now for number 17, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to solve the equation for y, moving the 3x to the other side. So I have negative 8y is greater than negative 3, if I subtract, it would be negative 3x minus x. That would be negative 8y is greater than negative 4x. Then when I divide by negative 8, I'm going to flip the inequality. So I have to flip this. So that would become y is less than 1/2 x, and that's plus 0. Which means because there's no equal sign, it's going to be a dotted line. And because it's less than, we're going to shade below. Now for this one, I'm going to actually flip the inequality so that y is on the left side. So that would be y. I would have to flip this as well. So y is going to be greater than or equal to x. And that's going to be plus 0 as well. This one's going to be a solid line. And since y is greater than, we're going to shade everything above it. So this is crossing at 0. The slope is going to be up 1 over 1 and then up 1 over 1. And again, it's going to be a solid diagonal line, so it should look something like this. Then for this next one, it's also crossing at 0, but the slope is up 1 over 2, and then up 1 over 2. So this one's going to be a dotted line, but it should be kind of slanted like this. Okay, and now we're going to do our shading. So my shading is going to take place, and we're going to do above the dotted line. No, above the solid line. So it would be everything above here. Shade everything above. And then we're going to shade everything below my dotted line. So that would be everything. So my answer is going to be this section right here, the section below the dotted line, but above the solid line. Now moving on to number 18, I know that I cubed is equal to negative I. So negative 2i minus I would be negative 3i plus 2 over 3 plus 4i. I'm going to multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. So I'm going to flip one of the signs. So that would be 3 minus 4i. And we're going to distribute. So that's going to be negative 9i plus 12 times negative 1. 2 times 3 would be 6. And then 2 times negative 4i would be negative 8i over 3 times 3 is 9 3 times negative 4i would be negative 12i. 4i times 3 would be plus 12i. And 4i times negative 4 would be negative 16, but I would multiply that by negative 1. So now the 12i's in the denominator cancel. I can add the 6 and the negative 12 would be negative 6. Add the negative 9i and the negative 8i would be negative 17i. In the denominator, I would have 9 plus 16, which would be positive 25. For number 18. Now looking at number 19, so I'm going to change this from radical form into exponential form. So I see the small 3 on the outside, so that'd be x5 y to the second all to the power of 1/3. Then I have x y to the third to the power of 1/4. I'm going to distribute that, both of those. So that would become x to the 5/3, y to the 2/3, x to the 1/4, and then y to the 3/4. So we're going to add the x's together as well as the y's together. So this would be x to the 5/3 plus 1/4, and then y to the 2/3 plus 3/4. We need a common denominator for both, so I'm going to multiply this by 4, this by 3, this by 4, and this by 3. That would give me x to the 20/12 plus 3/12, and then y to the power of 8/12 plus 9/12. And our result would be x to the 23/12, and then y to the 17/12. And that would conclude number 19. Now moving on to number 20. To get rid of the square root, we're going to square both sides of the equation, meaning that I would need to multiply this by 8 minus root s. That squared would become just s minus 48. On the right-hand side, I would have 8 times 8, which is 64. 8 times negative root s would be negative 8 root s. Negative root s times 8 would be negative 8 root s. And then negative root s times negative root s would just be s. Now the s's on both sides are going to cancel. I'm going to move the 48 to the other side. And when I add these together, I'm going to move it to the other side. So it'd be 16 root s is equal to 64 plus 48 would give us 112. Then I'm going to divide that by 16, which actually gives me root s is equal to 7. Then I have to square both sides, so s is equal to 49. But you're not done because you do have to check your answer. So I'm going to check it by plugging it in. So it'd be the square root of 49 minus 48 equals 8 minus the square root of 49. Well, the square 49 minus 48 would just be the square root of 1. Square root of 49 is 7. So does 1 equal 1? It does. So your answer is s is equal to 49. Now for number 21, we're going to start with a negative 4r, which puts us to the left of the origin. And then plus 8u puts us up. So that would be in quadrant 2. 4 to the left, 8 up. We have to find the hypotenuse and our angle. To find the hypotenuse, you're just going to use Pythagorean theorem. So h squared equals 8 squared plus 4 squared. So h squared equals 64 plus 16. So h squared is equal to 80. And the square root of 80, we have to simplify. So 80 divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2. That actually becomes 4 root 10. So h is equal to 4 square root 10? No, 4 square root 5. My bad, sorry. 4 square root 5. Okay. And now we're going to use inverse tangent to solve for the angle. And that's opposite over adjacent. So that would be 8 over 4. If you still don't remember how to plug that into your calculator, it's 8 divided by 4 equals. Then you do second tangent, and that gives you your angle. So that would be 63.43 degrees. But because we're in quadrant 2, we need to find this distance over here from 0 degrees to that point. So you're going to subtract that from 180. So your answer is going to be 4 square root 5. And your angle is going to be 116.57 degrees. Now moving on to number 22, we have to find the perpendicular of this line that goes through this point. So the first thing you have to do is change the format. So this would be negative 3y equals negative 5x plus 4. You're going to divide everything by negative 3. So I have y is equal to 5/3 x minus 4/3. When we do the perpendicular, we take the negative reciprocal of the slope and this b goes away. So that's going to become y is equal to negative 3/5 x plus b. We're going to plug in this point right here to solve for b. So that will be 3 is equal to negative 3/5 times negative 2 plus b. I'm going to make a common denominator of 5. So that'd be 15 over 5 equals 6 over 5 plus b. So b equals 9 over 5. And your answer would just be to plug this back into this perpendicular line. So your answer would be y is equal to negative 3/5 x plus 9 over 5. Now moving on to number 23. For number 23, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this 1 over m, which would give me mx equals 1 over mr plus 1 over mp. And I'm going to multiply this whole thing by the common denominator mrp. So when I do that, I'm going to distribute it. So it would become m squared rpx equals p plus r. And I'm solving for r, so everything that contains an r needs to be moved to one side. So I'm going to subtract the r from both sides. So I have m squared rpx minus r equals p. I have to factor out an r, leaving m squared px minus 1 equal to p, which means that your answer for r is going to be your right side, which is p, divided by that parentheses, which is m squared px minus 1. And that's 23. Now number 24, I need to convert this from 800 liters per minute to feet cubed per second. So I'm going to start by just converting this from liters to cubic centimeters. And that's 1,000 cubic centimeters is equal to 1 liter. Now centimeters to inches is 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. And that would be cubed. And then it would be 1 foot is 12 inches cubed. So now I'm in feet cubed because the inches will cancel, the centimeters would cancel. And then we have to convert from minutes to seconds. So 1 minute goes in the numerator, and then 60 seconds goes in the denominator, so that our minute cancels. Now we have to rewrite that, noticing that only the 2.54 and the 12 are cubed. Nothing else is cubed. So that should be 800 times 1,000 divided by, 2.54 cubed, 12 cubed times 60, and that would be feet cubed per second. Now looking at number 25, so it says that the area of this is equal to the area of the triangle. So when you find the area of the rectangle, it's just going to be 5 times 10. The area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 base times the height. So this would become 5. So I have 50 equals 5 times the height. If I divide by the height, or 5, I get the height is equal to 10. So this would be the height. Now I need to find this length right here, and I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. So h squared is equal to 10 squared plus 10 squared. So h squared equals 100 plus 100. H squared is 200. Square root would actually give us 10 square root 2. And that would be the length of FG. Now we're going to look at number 26, which says that the radius is equal to 2 root pi. We're trying to find the side of a square. So the area of the circle is equal to the area of the square. The area of the circle is going to be pi r squared, and the square would be just length squared. I know what my radius is. My radius is going to be 2 square root pi. It's equal to L squared. Now when I square that, I'm going to get pi times 4 pi equals L squared. When I multiply that, I'm going to get 4 pi squared equals L squared. So if I want to find the length of the side, I just have to take the square root of both sides. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of pi squared is just pi. And that would be the length of the side of the square. It's 2 pi. Now for number 27, what we're going to do first is I need to factor out any like terms. So notice that all 3 of these have an x to factor out as well as a 2. So I'm going to factor out a 2 and an x. That's going to leave this to become just 2x squared. When I divide that by 2x, I just get x. And when I divide that by 2 and x, I get negative 15. So we're going to follow our steps from lesson 105, which the first step says to multiply with the first term times the last term. So I have my 2x on the outside, but really I'm just multiplying, the 2 times the negative 15, which would be negative 30. Then I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 30, but add up to give me positive 1. And those numbers would be positive 6 and negative 5. They multiply to 30, but they add up to positive 1. So the 6 and the negative 5 are going to replace that x. So step 3 would be, I have my 2x on the outside, and then I have 2x squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 15 equals 0. These first two will go together, these last two will go together. So for step 4, I have 2x, and then I have 2x squared plus 6x, and then plus minus 5x minus 15 equals 0. Now, what divides both of those terms right here in this parenthesis? Well, that would be a 2 and an x, leaving me with an x plus 3. I can factor out a negative 5 in that term, which would leave me with x plus 3. So now you should see that there's an x plus 3 that could come out. So my step 5 would become 2x times x plus 3 times what's left, which would be the 2x minus 5. But you're not done yet, so some of you are stopping there, but that's not where you're stopping. You actually have to set each of these equal to 0 to solve for x. So I'm going to start with 2x equals 0, and when I divide that by 2, I get x is 0. Then I'm going to set x plus 3 equal to 0, and when I move the 3, it becomes negative, so x is equal to negative 3. Then I have 2x minus 5 equals 0. When I move the 5, it becomes positive. So my last x would be 5 over 2, and these would be my 3 answers for number 27. And your notes should be from lesson 105 is where you're going to find that. Number 18, all I'm going to do is I'm going to see that all 3 of those numbers are divisible by 4 and factor that out, which would make that 2x squared plus 3x and then plus 1 equals 0. You multiply the first and the last number together for step 1, so that would be 2 times 1 equals 2. I have to find the two numbers that multiply to give me this number, but add up to give me this number. And that's actually just going to be the 2 and the 1, because 2 times 1, when added together, is going to give us 3. So my new middle term is going to become 2x and 1x. So for step 3, I have 4 times 2x squared plus 2x plus 1x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to put the first two together, then the last two together, leaving the 4 on the outside. So that would be 2x squared plus 2x, and then plus 1x plus 1 equals 0. So what can you factor out of the first parentheses? That would be a 2 and an x, which would leave you with x plus 1. Second parentheses, I can only factor out a 1, which would just be x plus 1. So now what you're going to have is you're going to factor out the x plus 1. So that would be 4 times x plus 1 times what's left, which would be the 2x plus 1. But you're not done, because you need to set each of these equal to 0 to solve for x. So the first one says that 4 is equal to 0, which is not true. So this is not going to be an answer. Then I have x plus 1 equals 0. So x is going to be equal to negative 1. And then I have 2x plus 1 equals 0. When I move the 1 to the other side, it becomes negative 1. So I have two answers. I have negative 1/2 and I have negative 1. Now looking at number 29, what I'm going to do first is I am going to set n equal to this number with the repeating decimal 213. So I'm going to say n is equal to 74.213 dot. But what I need to do is I need to multiply this by 1,000 so that I can move the decimal place over 3 spaces. So that would be 1,000 n is equal to 1, 2, 3. It would be 74213.213 dot. So when I subtract these, the dot, the 213 and the 213 are all going to cancel. So I have 999n is equal to 74213 divided, 74213 minus 74 equals 74139, and divide that by 99. And that right there is your result. Lastly, we're going to do number 30. So for number 30, what we need to do first is we need to add the h and the g function together, because it says h plus g of -3. So sorry. I'm going to add the x plus 2 and the x cubed plus 2 together. So now I have x cubed plus x plus 4, because I can add the 2's together. Now I need to make sure that that -3 fits within my 2 domains of the original h and g function. So is -3 a real number? It is a real number. And is -3 an integer? It is also an integer, so it does fit here. So therefore, now I'm going to plug in -3 wherever I see an x. So that would be -3 cubed plus -3 and then plus 4. So -3 cubed is going to be -27 minus 3 and then plus 4. So I have -27 minus 3 and then plus 4, and your answer should be -26. And that concludes your questions from lesson 107B. I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.